Sindy, welcome back to the Becoming a Sleep Consultant podcast. I'm so glad you're here today.
Thank you, Jayne. It is so good to be with you again.
Tell us a little bit about you for those who are listening who don't know you.
Yeah, as you said, I'm Sindy Warren. I am a life and business coach. I'm also a lawyer and an HR consultant. And I am a yoga teacher and yoga philosophy teacher. So I wear a lot of hats.
You do wear a lot of hats. And I want to share with everybody listening that I met Sindy, I don't know, years ago, and we've kept in touch. I've always resonated with her messaging from a coaching perspective. And I've been reading her emails for however many years. And a couple of weeks ago, I got an email. It was one of your Friday flexions, as you call it. And the message just really resonated with me. And so I want to read just a small bit of what you wrote. You said, many come to coaching thinking they need to figure out their future immediately and with certainty. They want clarity before movement, proof before commitment, a guarantee before a beginning. Of course they do. The human brain loves certainty. We interpret it as safety, but life rarely unfolds according to our best laid plans. Direction rarely arrives fully formed. Oh, I loved that. And I want you, if you're willing, to just expand upon those thoughts a little bit.
Absolutely. And the reason I wrote that particular iteration of Friday Flexions is because it's just a theme I'm seeing with a lot of my one-on-one coaching clients. And some of them come to me, as you know, and as we've talked about before, because they're building a business. Usually it's something on the side, and the coaching client I had in mind when I wrote the email is someone who is a fully engaged professional and probably looking at retirement in the next 3 to 4 years and had started to plant some seeds for a side gig. His particular side gig is mindfulness-based meditation. And he was struggling with, is this really something? How do I know I'm giving up when I'm ready to retire? How do I know if I'll like this? How do I know if anyone will want it? And it just struck me as such a common human phenomenon that we want certainty before we begin. And that is just simply not how life works, or frankly, how business works. So I thought there were some good lessons in there for us. And I think the biggest one, and again, I'm thinking of this particular individual, but I think it applies to most of us, is paying attention to subtler forms of engagement, if you will. So not necessarily how many people sign up for whatever it is you're offering, or how much money you make, or the external markers of success where most of us are used to measuring ourselves by. But engagement is quieter. You can't see it, but you can feel it if you're paying attention enough. So what I noticed with this particular client was the numbers he was getting in terms of people who are interested in what it is he wants to offer or sell, if you will, were small, but he felt really enlivened. And that struck me as important and something that he wasn't seeing right away.
I see this a lot with the people who I speak with on a daily basis, people who are interested in becoming sleep consultants, or even if they haven't really figured out that they want to be a sleep consultant yet, but they want to start a business, they want to support families, they're passionate about supporting mothers, and they're wondering, is sleep consulting the right fit for me? Is this the field that I should go into? And there's this strong pull or desire to have everything figured out and roadmapped before they even decide that they're going to try and do the thing. And as somebody that doesn't operate that way personally, like I'm the type of person, I'm very impulsive. I just make quick decisions. I don't really overthink things. I actually don't plan anything. Like I'm not scheduling my social media. I'm not pre-thinking. I don't even think about in advance what I'm going to send out to my email list. I just have a thought and I'm like, oh, I'm going to run with that. And I send it. But I know that most people aren't like that. They want to have this level of certainty. They want to have this plan before getting started. I'm going to ask you, the business coach, and I know that you do a lot of mindset work, for somebody who really gets a little bit stuck in wanting to have it all figured out in advance, how do we help that person realize that it's actually the journey, it's actually the process that helps you to achieve the certainty that you're looking for?
I think I would first encourage that person, and I can see how much you would see that in your work, Jayne. Encourage them to question the assumptions. It just is simply looking at it upside down, I think, to want the guarantee before you get going. So I think the better course, and this is certainly what I teach as a coach, but this is also what yoga philosophy would suggest, is just follow the path, put one step in front of the other, follow your sense of aliveness, follow curiosity, and trust that there's something those feelings are telling you. So if someone is, for example, wanting to support families, support mothers, or maybe they had a great experience with their own sleep consultant, I can see there being such a strong pull to go into your field, and it just isn't going to come with guarantees. So it's one foot in front of the other. And I also think I would want to remind that person to zoom the camera lens of their life out a little bit and look at where they've found most meaning in life. It usually is, I think, just for most humans, in the journey, way more so than the destination.
Yeah. And that's the part of it that I think is fun. I think that growing a business is actually really fun. It's really thrilling. And that
Yeah.
doesn't mean that it's not hard. It doesn't mean that it's not challenging. It doesn't
Yeah.
mean that I'm not frustrated on a regular basis. I am. But I think that on some level, we get to decide, are we going to choose to enjoy this process, or are we going to dread it and sort of have pushback at every single step? It
Yeah.
doesn't need to be that way, right? If we
Right.
can all just sort of put a smile on and get to work, we can realize that this is something that we get to do. You don't have to be an entrepreneur, right?
You
Like, nobody
don't.
has to be an entrepreneur. You can just go get a regular job if you want.
Right.
That's what most people do. Just go get a regular job if you want to do that. But if you want a little bit more flexibility, if you
Yeah.
want to be able to work on your own schedule, if you want to be able to set your own pricing and figure out how and when you're going to work and how much money you're going to make, like, you get to do that.
And you used a really important word, which is choice. It is, yeah, like you said, it's a choice. So if you're going to choose it, choose to enjoy it. That's also a choice instead of dread it.
Yeah. I think that sometimes the limiting beliefs get in the way, right? Before you even have started, literally
Yeah.
before you've done anything, sometimes people's brains go very quickly to, what if I can't find a client? Or
Right.
what if I can't help people? That's another thing
Yeah.
that I really see people grappling with in their minds. How are you helping? I'm going to say women, because I think women really in particular
Yeah.
struggle with this, overcome those limiting beliefs and realize that, like, I don't know, the way I think about it is, yeah, you can't help people if you never try. If you
That's
literally
true.
never,
That's
if
true.
you've
Yeah.
literally never tried, then you're not helping anybody, right? So at
Yes.
least put yourself out there and try. But I don't know, for somebody who truly struggles with this stuff in their brain, that's probably not the answer. What would you say to those people?
Well, I'm actually going to bring in my lawyer brain to answer this one. And what I like to say to my clients is, okay, if you had to make the case for why you are the right person to go help someone with X, Y, or Z, what would you say? Like, I'm your jury, convince me. And when I actually literally just did this on a call with a client about 15 minutes ago, she made the most unbelievable case. And at the end of our call, I said to her, I'm just going to send you an email back with your reasons why you're ready to go. And she was like, oh, I guess I am. She gave me like 10 reasons. So I like to play with that kind of mental game with
Yeah,
clients.
I like that. I like that too. I'm wondering, that client that you're working with, is that somebody by any chance that's in sort of like a second act of
Yes.
life career wise?
Yes. Many of my clients are.
Yeah. So I guess I'd love to hear a little bit about that, how you're supporting I know you support men and women, but I'm mostly interested in what it looks like for women who, they're teachers, they're
Yeah.
nurses, maybe they're stay-at-home moms. They haven't worked since before they
Yes.
had children. And I think that shift in your brain that needs to happen to say, I could do something different. I could start
Yeah.
over. I'm putting that in air quotes because I don't think it's really starting over. I think, regardless of what we did, the way that you just brought your legal brain into your coaching work, right? I think we all
Right.
do that. So we're never really starting over. But, how are you helping people to overcome that feeling of starting over in that second
Yeah.
act or that second season of working life?
I think reinvention or reimagining might even be a better word for different stages of life is really important. And if we are lucky enough to get the chance to live that long, be well enough to be able to envision a next act or a second chapter or whatever we want to call it, um, I like to help my clients find joy in the process. And like you said, I love the air quotes. I don't believe anyone's ever starting over because, for example, the client who is a woman imagining next act of her life, who I just had a call with, we looked to her prior professional background for skills that will translate into the next phase. That's also true for someone who's been a stay at home mom for a couple of decades. There are skills in running a household, raising children. And it's really such a gift to be able to then tap into what is it I desire now? And for a lot of women, I think that word desire can be tricky, especially when we're used to putting everyone else's needs before our own for some period of time, if not for our entire lives. And I think it's important to kind of shift the focus inward when you've maybe had an external view of your work in the world or success, but to draw it inward and ask, what do I want and why? And one of the best ways to answer it is to just get curious about what draws you in. What interests you? What are the things you find yourself talking about again and again, or wanting to read about again and again? And those can be really important clues for us.
I keep coming back to the idea that it's so important to lead with excitement. That's what I'm hearing from you, is to choose to do the thing that you want to be doing.
Yeah.
And talking yourself out of it is sort of silly when you think about it that way,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, shouldn't we be doing the things that we want to be doing, right? Like, if we
Yes.
can
Yeah.
if we can connect the things that bring us joy and make us happy and allow us to feel fulfilled and satisfied, if we can connect those things with earning a living,
Oh my gosh, what could be better?
what could be better, right? But then people get stuck, right? Like,
Yes.
how much do I have to think about this? And I do think, on some level, I'm really impulsive. I don't think about anything, and I don't even think that's the way to go. There's
Yeah.
probably some middle ground, right? And I'm on one end of the spectrum, and then there are people who literally will think about everything forever, right?
Yeah.
What would you say is like the right amount of planning and consideration and research
Yeah.
before? Can you quantify that?
I think it very much depends on someone's personality. You using yourself as an example, it would be a different answer for you than someone who's like extremely type A and loves to plan and all the things. So I think we have to take into account our natural tendencies and find a way that works for us. So I think there's an individuality that has to come into the equation. And it is very smart to have an idea of where you want to go so that you can kind of reverse engineer it. That doesn't mean you have all the answers figured out, but it means I'm drawn to helping moms with babies with sleep problems. Okay, let me explore that. At least I know that. Maybe I want to take a course. Maybe I want to get certified. Maybe I want to hang a proverbial shingle. So I like thinking of it one step at a time with a loose idea of the end in mind. And some people are more into, for example, I write my social media posts for the week, Sundays from 3 to 4. And other people are just going to be struck when the mood hits. And just know who you are. and you can plan your work accordingly, especially if you're an entrepreneur. You really do have way more leeway to play to your strengths, if you will.
I think one of the hardest parts of building a business is that oftentimes results aren't immediate in the beginning, right? So, on some level, it's pretty easy to feel like you're failing when really that's not
Yes.
what's happening. But in the beginning, you're all excited to start something new, help people, grow a
Yeah.
business, earn
Yeah.
money, feel really fulfilled. And you're just in that beginning stage where you're planting the seeds and a lot might be happening, but you're not seeing it come out on the other end.
Yeah.
How do we
Yeah.
work through that period mentally, emotionally to continue to carry on, trust that roadmap, whatever we've thought out for ourselves,
Yeah.
when we're not seeing the fruits of our labor immediately or as quickly as perhaps we had forecasted?
It's such an important question. First of all, that's more typical in business, that early results don't necessarily indicate a sustainable business. Oftentimes, businesses that don't show success right away end up having the staying power. So, one is just understand that the marker you're looking at is inaccurate, likely. And the other, I think, going back to what I said earlier in our discussion, Jayne, is to just pair your work, meaning the effort you're putting into your business or your clients or your whatever, but the effort you're putting in, have it really mirror your interest, your engagement, your curiosity, your sense of aliveness. That's way more an indicator of future success than early dollar amounts are.
The story that you shared in the email that I was really resonating with was about, as you said, this guy who was starting this small little side hustle and he wasn't
Yes.
getting as many people enrolled in his webinar or group coaching program as he
Yes.
would have wanted to, but he really was enjoying the work that he was doing and he was really feeling fulfilled by the small little bits. Like he was helping people and he was
Yeah.
connecting with people. It was just maybe on a smaller scale than perhaps he had anticipated. And it reminds me of somebody inside of our CPSM community who shared a similar story about her own business recently, where she actually has gotten to the point now where she's gained some traction and some momentum. And she really has a business that truly she can be very much proud of. But she was sharing a story about how in the beginning she would do these, Zooms for moms, and like two moms would show up.
Yep.
And her husband, she was complaining to her husband that like things feel really slow and, I'm not getting the clients that I would have thought that I'd be getting by now. And he said to her, he's like, "Are you enjoying the work? Like, do you like it?"
Mm,
And she said, "I love it. I love every minute of it. I love the marketing piece. I love the client support. Like, I just really love it. I just want to be doing more of it." And he's like,
yeah.
"Then carry on." And
Oh,
I love that her husband said that to her,
me too.
because what an amazing coach he is, right?
Yes,
Because
totally.
she was loving growing her business. It just was
Yeah.
small at that point.
Yeah.
But she wasn't a failure. It was just her business was a baby.
Yeah.
And now she has some hindsight and she has some perspective and she can see that that was just a point in her journey. And even now her business, we talk about her business as being like a roller coaster, as all of
Yeah.
ours are, ups and downs
Yes.
and busy periods and slower periods. And she knows, because she has the wisdom and the experience, she knows that even when it's slow, it'll pick up again. And
Yeah.
also, she just enjoys it. So, like, she's going to carry
Yeah.
on, even when her business is slow. If she's only supporting two families, she's really enjoying supporting those two families. And that's really what it's all about,
And for those two
And
families, it's not a small thing. It's
it's
life
not a
changing. Yeah.
it's life changing. Exactly. And I think she knows that now.
Yeah.
She knows that her business is so much bigger than whatever her bank account says. She
Yeah.
knows that she's out there changing lives and she's really making a difference. And
Yeah.
you're right. in a month where it's a little bit slower and she only is supporting two families, she has even more to pour into them and she can give
Right.
them maybe an even better experience. And she loves the work. And I just, when she said that, it made me so proud of her that she was able to see the big picture and realize that even when it feels like
Yeah.
it could be better, like you have the choice to look at it from a light of, no, this is actually really great. I'm really enjoying this.
That's incredible. It's like abundance thinking.
Yeah.
And that story you just shared, Jayne, is so common. What I will say is I see that experience with clients a lot. And as you know, for a number of years, I ran a program called Side Gig School. And now I just help people who are growing businesses in a one-on-one capacity. But that was a very common story among my side giggers. What I saw equally as much, which makes me a little sad, is people give up too quickly. They just decide, oh, it's not working. And that's not true. It just hasn't worked yet. Like you
Yeah.
said, the seeds are there, you're watering them, you just don't have the garden yet. But
Yeah.
keep going, it's coming.
Yeah. I think that for many business owners, there is a tipping point where you go from feeling like you don't have a business to feeling like you have a business.
Yeah,
And until you reach that tipping point, it's really hard to see that you're going to get there.
right.
But if you don't quit, you will. It just might take you a little longer than you thought. And I can say that with such confidence because I see so many people give up on their businesses just thinking
Yeah.
like, this isn't a thing. Nobody wants this. I can't do this. I'm not good at this, whatever they tell themselves.
Yes. Yeah.
And then I see the people who stick with it and they are the success stories, the people who stick with it. And they'll come back and they'll say, it took me 6 months to really figure out what I was doing. It took me however long to land my first client. It took me
Yeah.
however long to feel like I really, it's different for everybody. But the people who really have success in entrepreneurship are the ones who just don't give up before that tipping point, before they gain momentum.
That's absolutely true. And one more thing I'll add to that is that not only do the successful people not give up, they have beliefs and thoughts that support their efforts to continue to show up. So they believe in themselves or they believe in what they're offering. My client, for example, even though he was disappointed with the attendance at his workshop, his very first workshop, loved building the curriculum, knows that mindfulness meditation is a powerful modality. That has nothing to do with him. It came before him. It will be here long after he's gone. And he's just sort of a conveyor of it to those who are interested. So much of it is believing in what you're doing.
I think that for many people want to have the confidence before they achieve success, right? Like,
Yes.
but really, if we think about it, I think the confidence often comes from having some level of success for most.
Almost always. That's how it works. You put
Yeah.
one foot in front of the other and you get things done and you start to see some level of success and then you feel confident.
Yeah.
So it's a chicken and egg thing.
So what are you supposed to do before you have confidence? Do you subscribe to the whole fake it till you make it mindset, or
I'm
do
not
you
a
think that,
fan. I'm not really a fan of fake it till you make it insofar as that implies false positivity. What I am a fan of, though, is convincing yourself in a way that is believable why you are worthy to be doing the work, to be selling the thing, to be teaching the thing. And I don't think that's fake it till you make it. I think that's shoring up a belief system that will carry you through the ebbs and flows of life and business.
what about being afraid of making mistakes? I see a lot of people avoid networking, avoid making a social media post. They avoid even talking to moms because they're
Yeah.
afraid they might say the wrong thing. How do we get over that?
Mistakes are inevitable. I mean, you
Yeah.
cannot learn and grow if you're not making mistakes. And if you're not, as Brene Brown talks about, put yourself in the arena. And sometimes it can feel like an arena. You have to fight your limiting beliefs, or you have to fight the fear of failure or the perfectionist tendencies. that at some point in your life probably were pretty effective. So I think there's just no way around making mistakes and feeling occasionally like a failure. That's just part of the journey, of life
Yeah.
as a human as well as an entrepreneur. So I think the more we can level expectations around nothing's gone wrong here, this is just the way it is, the better equipped we are to deal with those ebbs and flows as they come up.
I feel like I make more mistakes in a day than most people make in a week. Really, I
I love
do.
that.
I
Yeah.
do. But I think that that's because I'm trying more things and I'm putting
Yeah.
myself out there more. Right.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
the more chances you take, the more mistakes you're going to make, but also the more success you will have because you're doing more things.
No
Right.
question.
And so I'm always encouraging people just to get out there, do the thing. I think I've shared this on the podcast before, but in the past couple of years, I've really leaned heavily into supporting families that have older children, like 3, 4, 5 year olds. I'm not working with
Uh-huh.
so many babies these days.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me, I think, a year, maybe more, to really get comfortable with the language that I use when speaking to parents about improving sleep with their 3 and 4 year olds. I would
Wow.
get on these calls and I have a mentor who's taught me so much about parent coaching and communication strategies with children, but also communication strategies for me to speak with parents about all of this.
Yes.
And she shared so much language with me, so much verbiage that she was like, use this, take my words.
Yeah.
And her words were not rolling off my tongue in a way that felt good. Like it sounded great when
Yeah.
she said it, but I
Yeah.
would say it and I'm like, this isn't me. This doesn't feel right. And I would get on call after call after call and use these sort of like one liners that just were like,
Yeah.
this isn't me. This doesn't feel good. And it took me so long to find my own language and find my
Mm-hmm.
own communication style to
Mm-hmm.
really feel like I could nail these calls and articulate my value to the families that I was speaking with. And now, a couple of years later, literally it rolls off my tongue. My kids could recite to you everything I say on these calls. It's like, I've said these things over and over and over again. And I really truly believe all of my own words with my own heart, with my own mind.
Yeah.
And it's natural and it's me, but it took me probably a year to figure out how to do that. And also keep in mind, I already had a successful business when I was doing this.
Right.
So I had a
Right.
lot of opportunities to practice because
Yeah.
I had a lot of people reaching out to me because
Mm-hmm.
they got my name from a friend or they heard about me through their occupational therapist or their,
Mm-hmm.
whatever,
Mm-hmm.
their preschool teacher. I
Mm-hmm.
had referrals coming in. So I had a lot of opportunities to practice. Sometimes for brand new sleep consultants, they don't have as many opportunities to practice because
Right.
they're just getting their name out there. And
Yeah.
so, they have to figure out, am I going to be brave enough to get on Instagram and talk about this online? Or
Yeah.
am I going to be thoughtful enough to take the time and ask a friend, like call an old college roommate and say, hey,
Right.
can I practice this with you? Because, if you're only practicing it once every couple of weeks, then it's going to take you even longer.
Absolutely. I think that does require courage. It also requires commitment. And the story you shared about just your increasing facility to work with older kids, you shared something really important, which is having a mentor. Even though the mentor's words weren't your words ultimately, I assume that experience helped shape your own journey. So I think that's something, there's so much support now for baby entrepreneurs, if you will. Seek a mentor.
And about my mentor, I talk to her every day. She's my business bestie. We
Yeah.
chat through cases, we knock ideas back and forth, we pick apart sticky situations. And it's not that her verbiage is amazing verbiage. It just
Yeah.
wasn't rolling off my
Right.
tongue.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
and I think that, as somebody who teaches people to be sleep consultants and I give them all of my verbiage, they have access to my sample sleep plans and my coaching calls, and they get to see the way that I communicate with families. and they're welcome to take all of that language and use it in their business. I don't gatekeep that, but I really do
Yeah,
believe that in order for them to ultimately gain their own confidence and to really step into their own, they have to, it has to evolve. If they're
absolutely.
just like, if they're just rattling off my words, it will always be, it won't be them, you
Yeah.
know? And so it takes time, it takes effort, it takes repetition and the willingness to keep at it and not give up.
Yeah, absolutely. You can take all the certifications and courses there are out there, have all the scripts, and you have to find your own way. And there's something so beautiful about that because you make it your own. It becomes part of who you are as a service provider.
Is there one small action step that you could share with my listeners if they feel really inspired by this conversation? If they're thinking, okay, I hear you, I'm
Yes.
listening,
Yes.
what can they do today to move the needle? I'm not talking about moving the needle in their business, I'm talking about moving the needle in their brain. What can
Yeah,
they do today to really take action in a way that will shift their mindset around doing the hard thing?
absolutely. Come up with a list of 5 to 10 ideas of something you could do today. And that might even be just ordering a book on Amazon or going to your local bookstore. Support local when you can, something
Totally.
like that. But make a list and just pick one thing. It might not be the right thing, it might not be the most optimized thing, but action breeds more of the same. So make a list, pick your top choice, and go do something.
I love that you said to make a list of 5 things and then you said we only had to do one of them.
Yeah.
I think that that's great because, I think making a list of 5 things can then feel like, oh my gosh, I got to do all these things, or which one do I do first, or whatever. But just like making a list and then just do one thing.
Yeah.
I think that that's such great advice because so many people are so paralyzed to take even that first step. And
Yeah.
once you take the first step, then you're like, oh, I got to do another. I got to do another. I got to do another.
Yeah.
And then you really build momentum and you realize, oh, this isn't so scary. This is actually really fun.
Exactly.
I'm
That's
enjoying
right.
this, but it's that first step that is really hard for people.
And the first step doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't even have to be the right step, but it's got to be a step.
Where can people learn more about your services, your coaching? Fill us
Yeah.
in on how people can connect further with you.
The best place to find me is on my website, which is bluetreecoaching.net. I'm also on Instagram at bluetreecoaching and on LinkedIn, Sindy Warren.
Sindy, thank you so much for coming back on the podcast. It's been a while, and I'm so glad that we had this opportunity to reconnect today and that you could share all of your knowledge and wisdom with our community. Thanks again.
It's always a pleasure.